Hey, good evening. Hiva El Ta. Let me say that again. Hiva El Ta. And now Mesa El Care. Welcome to That's Life with Evolution. I am your host, Evolution. And I have a very, very special guest tonight. I have Thomas Grafton. Thomas, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Feeling good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So for the people who don't know who you are and what you do, Thomas. Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Right on. My name's Thomas. I grew up on the Kansas side of Kansas City
Mhm.
and went to school there. I went to University of Kansas for college. I got a couple of degrees from KU, both in social work. Got my master's in social work there. Not currently practicing any kind of social work. I actually decided to stick with the a retail position. So worked my way through management there, and decided to take a step back. And now I'm installing tires, man, and it's a good life.
Hey, man, that sounds wonderful. I'm really happy for you. I was talking to you a little bit before the show started, and man, I just love it when people are happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And sometimes, well, not sometimes, but everybody has their own road to take, and long as that road ends to happiness, hey, I'm good with that. You know.
absolutely.
So, once again, this is That's Life with Evolution, and I'm your host. And today's subject is overcoming impossible odds. Don't take no and never give up. Um, just off the title, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, it's making me think about my wife and the way that she was raised. I mean, you want me to go into it a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure, man.
I don't know how much she would want me to, divulge, but I mean, didn't have exactly the best childhood. Uh, she was military kid, so her parents had her when they were pretty darn young. So she bounced her. I think she went to like 13 schools in
Wow.
in like 9 years or something like that.
Gee. Hmm.
And in the midst of all that, her parents went through a pretty messy divorce, fighting for custody, this, that, and whatever. And it was pretty vindictive along the way.
Wow.
I think somewhere along the line, I don't know the exact timeline, it gets kind of messy, but she ended up getting emancipated and was working like four jobs and
Wow.
uh, was had to try and make her own way. And she's the kind of person who like she doesn't take shit off anybody. You don't really tell her what to do.
No,
Um,
you don't.
yeah, and pretty strong opinions on a lot of things,
Mhm.
and she reacts a lot differently than a lot of other people might in certain situations that really only come from that strong will,
Mhm.
that drive to succeed, to get out, to bust out of whatever negative situation that you're in, and make something of yourself, for better or for
Man,
worse. So, I mean,
right.
that's really what first came to mind. I was like, oh my god, like I don't know if she's
Yeah.
gonna like me talking about this, but she's
Hey, man, talk about overcoming impossible odds, right?
yeah.
So
I mean,
that
that's
that
wild.
definitely ties right in with what we're doing here, and also what we do in this life with evolution is we have what's called last question that gets us going in the right direction. So we'll get into last question right now.
Okay.
All right. So today's last question is actually several questions. I'll hit you with the first one. How can you help someone not give up and push through what they are dealing with when it comes to impossible odds? Do you have a response for that?
Uh, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is that I feel like a lot of times people just they need what they're going through to be validated in some way
Hmm.
or another.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that people feel really lost when they're having certain experiences. They feel like they're run down. They feel like the world's closing in on them, whatever, and they gotta and they're trying to convey that message to somebody else, trying to find a confidant. confidant of some kind, and
Hmm.
people are like, "Oh, you know, you'll be fine." But like, if somebody could sit there and listen and say, "You know what, that really does suck. I'm sorry,"
Yeah.
you know, just like giving that just that small amount of validation to be like,
Hmm.
"Yo, I hear you, and that
Right.
sucks," you know, like I'm pulling for you.
Yeah.
You know, that I think that speaks volumes, and it lets somebody know that they are being heard regardless of what they might be going through. Somebody's hearing what they're having to say,
Hmm.
and I think that can really bring somebody a lot of solace when they are trying to, you know, persevere through difficult times. So I mean, first and foremost, yeah, you know, listen to what people say, validate what they're saying. What you're feeling
Hmm.
is real, regardless of if it's misplaced or whatever. Like you know, you're not. It's not wrong to feel the way that you're feeling,
Hmm.
and that deep deserves to be acknowledged.
Absolutely, man. And also, when you respond that way, it makes them feel like you're actually listening. You know
Right,
what I mean? Because sometimes you can spill your soul out to somebody, and you know who they are, and you know how they respond. Mhm, yeah, yeah.
right, of
They're
course,
not listening, and your situation is not important to them. They're probably thinking about who knows what.
right,
But definitely in those situations, when you give that little extra attention and let people know, hey, you're dealing with a lot.
right.
Uh,
I think people are so fast to try and offer solutions too. Well, you know what you
mhm,
should do. You know what you should do. You know
right,
what
right.
I did. Like
Uh-huh.
maybe this will work for you. And it's like, look, I'm not looking for the answer necessarily. I'm
Uh-huh.
not looking for your advice. Let me just
Right.
tell you the shit I'm going through and hear it for a
Mhm.
second. And you know, and that I just think that that's a huge step if you can
Heck
accomplish.
yeah. And in most cases, just listening is great, and just keeping your mouth shut because sometimes they just need to vent
Right.
and get it off their chest. But yeah, like you said, man, when people, and that's one of the mistakes people make, they always say, well, what I would do, but it's not you and it's not your
Right.
situation. And
You
you
don't know
really
what
don't. It's,
you don't know what I'm dealing with. You don't know
it,
the variables in this situation.
exactly, because definitely you're not going to tell them all of it.
Right.
They only know just bits and pieces, and even based off that, they still don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's funny because that's actually down the line what we need to talk about. So
All
you
right.
hit one early. You're right on target, man. Um, so let's move to the next layers question. What type of support or advice can you give them so that they will listen to you and follow the process to overcome those odds?
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
What what
What
what
type
can
of
you
support? Yeah. What type of support or advice could you give them so they will listen to you and follow the process to overcome those odds?
man, I feel like as long as you just got to let somebody know that they've got somebody in their corner,
Hmm.
you know, for you know, for better or for worse. Like I can't really give you the answers. I might not
Right.
know everything that you're dealing with, whatever the
Hmm.
case might be. But like you got somebody in your corner. You got somebody who has your back, and you got somebody that that you can come to no matter what, you know. And I can't make that path for you, and I can't give you the answer, but you know, just know that
Right.
you got
Right.
somebody who's here for you.
Absolutely, man. And in a lot of cases, it's tough, to offer support or advice, especially when it's something you've never dealt with. Um, and a lot of people think because they're your friend or they're your relative that they can just say whatever.
Right.
And, and in most cases, it's probably the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And instead of that person opening up to you, they literally shut down
Right.
because, you know, it was just the wrong thing to say. And they're like, you know what?
Yeah. But it's weird though because this kind of also gives way to sort of like a self-serving situation, right? And
Mhm.
when you know maybe you're trying to offer advice or you're trying to be that supportive person for somebody, but like you know why have you decided to be this support person? Are you know is it just because they're your friend? Are you getting something out of it? You know, because there's I had to read a book in college. I forget the name of it, but it's something about altruism, basically, where
Okay.
and altruism is essentially like um, it's what do I benefit from helping this person, and the
Mm,
idea is that there's never a truly altruistic uh, act, right?
mhm.
Like no
Right.
matter what, the the person like helping, the person who's offering advice, the person who's stepping in to be, support is receiving something in return, whether that's emotional feel good or maybe a monetary gain,
Hmm.
maybe whatever that. So then it like kind of freaks me out where it's like, am I offering this person advice because it makes me feel good? Am I
Hmm.
offering this person a helping hand because I feel like I'm the appropriate person to offer this advice or be that
Mm,
guy for somebody?
right.
Uh, Most of the time, it's probably no. I'm not qualified for these kinds of things, but all I can offer is me and myself and the best I can do for somebody else.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And hopefully that's enough to help out in the situation.
Yeah.
You just never know. So the third last question is, what makes them decide to give up? Um, and I'll take this one, and then I'll let you elaborate.
All right.
In most cases, people give up out of fear. You know, they're just scared to see what's on the other side of the fence, or they're scared to enter in that realm of challenge to get to the other side of those obstacles. And you know, uh, we must basically have no fear. With those impossible odds. If that's your situation, that's what you're dealing with. That's what you're in the middle of. Uh, you got to lose the fear before you can focus and actually handle that in the appropriate way. Um, because if you're scared of what's going to happen, it's gonna you're gonna be in a sinkhole.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's that overwhelming hopelessness, maybe,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
somebody's constantly two steps forward, one step back, it
Hmm.
just, somebody feels like they just can't catch a break and the world's closing in on them and whatever. But at a certain point, like you got to jump 2 feet in, right? I mean,
Right, right.
um, but yeah, I mean, you got to jump 2 feet in, but you at the same time, like thinking going forward, like you're opening up a can of worms, man. If you're trying to go for that, you're going for that promotion. Like that the second you get there, it's opening up a whole new world of responsibility
Hmm.
or a certain level of power,
Hmm.
a certain level of responsibility that you're gonna have maybe for someone else or
Hmm.
for yourself. I don't know. And it's scary. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, but
Especially when let's say you do get that position, and the first thing they hit you with, well, these are all the issues that we're having. Now you're going to be responsible for fixing all this stuff.
yeah, yeah. But you gotta own it though too,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta own it. You're like, I don't know how you feel about cursing on this show, but like you gotta find your fuck it button, like fuck it, we're doing this,
Yeah.
like this is me, this is
Uh,
what we're doing, we're jumping in, like this is me, like, look out. We're taking it by storm.
and that's really kind of the attitude that needs to be taken, especially when you're new to something, because obviously those issues came from somewhere,
Right.
and then those issues need to get worked out. And then if those issues were not worked out to the people who was involved before, then you got to have a way to analyze, kind of listen to what happened, listen to what's going on, listen to what's been said, but have your own thought process, and utilizing that is to, okay, so this is what didn't work,
Right.
so let me try to figure out what's going to work. What are your thoughts?
Well, so this might be a little bit off topic, but for some reason it's reminding me of something that happened in like my own life, right?
Okay, okay.
So, growing up, I'm not like a very like emotionally expressive person,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And my mom would constantly give me crap for it. But my mom's the kind of person who I love her dearly. So but she's a wonderful woman. So don't anybody get this twisted. Um, but she's the kind of person who will like if you're acting outside of your normal personality, she like
Hmm.
calls you on it in like a
Hmm.
loving way. She's like, "Oh, look at you being this way," and you're like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh God." And then I immediately will ball up. I'm like, okay, somebody noticed, somebody called me out. Like, I'm gonna ball up. I'm gonna pull that back in.
Hmm.
Tighten the reins. I can't act like that anymore.
Hmm.
I had an example. So I had been in college for a couple of years, and I came home. We were doing some Christmas shopping. Right, my younger
Hmm.
brother was still pretty young. We were at the mall. We got on the escalator. Busy mall, holidays. And my little brother was a couple steps down from me on the escalator. And I
Hmm.
look around, I'm looking around, and I don't see him. I'm like, where the hell's Jack? And I immediately had that like moment of panic. Where's Jack? Where's Jack? We
Hmm.
lost him, right? My mom goes, look at you being caring for your younger brother. I can't
Uh,
believe that you actually care about your younger brother. And it just that like immediately it snapped something in me where I was like, I can't show that anymore. I can't be
wow.
that way anymore.
Hmm.
Like somebody called me on it, and now I'm going to curl into a little ball and don't be this person. Don't act like you care about your your siblings anymore.
Wow.
But
Interesting.
yeah, but I mean, as I get older, and I'd always been pretty introverted. You come out of your shell a little bit,
Hmm. Hmm.
get through college, you're in the workforce, you're really developing the kind of person that you're going to be for maybe the rest of your life. And people change here and there, but I mean, you're
Hmm.
developing your you, you know,
Right. Exactly.
and comes to a point where you have to throw that away and say, look, I'm not living for anybody else, I'm living for me, and this is how I feel, and these are the things I care about, and these are the things I'm not afraid to express,
Absolutely.
and this is who I am, so call me on it, screw it, I don't care, like I love this person, I love that person, like
Hmm.
sue me.
As far as overcoming impossible odds, that was great because that's exactly what you did. You became aware of your own strengths. As you develop, and the things that used to, I guess, make you curl up and hide out. Those things don't even bother you now. You stand up and you face
Yeah,
them, and you brush them off.
yeah,
So good for you, man. Congratulations on that,
thank
because
you.
some people can't do that for some reason. It's a lot of people, unfortunately, who are out there who deal with that today, no matter what age they are, young, middle aged, or older, and I run into them from time to time. But
Well, I
you
think
know,
it's tough too. Like, I mean, if we're just gonna talk about like the emotional standpoint, like me personally, like caring about this or whatever,
uh-huh,
um, like as dudes, as guys, like that's still it's still hard for guys to show, that we care about each other. Like telling your
mhm,
best friend that you love him,
mhm,
calling
mhm,
somebody up and saying how you been? I haven't seen you in a while,
mhm,
like whatever, like that platonic male connection is missing in so many ways
mhm,
for not I mean my generation going up, especially like
yeah.
getting older for me. I think the younger generation is doing a hell of a lot better with that.
I,
But
I
yeah,
I
it's
agree. I agree. And from the generation that I came up with, maybe around the same time, um, it was just one focus. Men were like rocks. They were hard, they
mhm,
were solid, and if you didn't display your full masculinity at all times, then it just, it wasn't accepted, or it was just looked upon as weak. You know
right.
what I mean? So
Yeah,
I definitely identify with what you're saying, um, because it's definitely different now. Everybody's emotional. They're passionate. They
right.
they voice their opinion. They share their information. So today,
It's hard for a lot of guys to do that.
yeah, it is.
Especially now, even if it's becoming more acceptable, it's still hard to like, retroactively sit there and say, you know what, I am going to tell you how I feel, and that's the most terrifying thing. Like
Yeah.
my dad never really showed a heck of a lot of emotion. He wasn't a
Hmm.
hugger, he wasn't affectionate, he wasn't, you know, it 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 took me getting in trouble with the law for the last time that I can recall my dad telling me that he loved me,
Wow.
like I know he does. I know he
Yeah.
I know he does, but it's like
But
it's so strange that it's so difficult for somebody to say that out loud, to
yeah,
to,
and
to
it,
tell the people that you love them.
yeah, and
Wow.
it really shouldn't have took all that for him to express, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, interesting, interesting. I think you're onto something there. Um, so when it comes to uh, overcoming impossible odds, when you're trying to reach someone uh, or help them, whatever, you got to use wisdom or examples that they can relate to that make sense to them. You can't make it personal, like you were talking about earlier.
Mm,
Um, so it's their challenges, it's not yours. You know what I
right.
mean? So we have to keep that in mind. Like you said, people always like, well, what I would do or what
Mm,
you should do. You really can't make those statements because it's a lot of information missing. You're not a professional, like you said.
right.
Uh, so I just think in those situations you have to follow your purpose or follow your goals um, to help you. First, you got to identify those. You know what I'm saying? You
Hmm.
got to know what your purpose is and know what your goals are. Depending on what you're dealing with, that could mean a lot. It's a wide range of stuff that might be going on.
Right.
So you got to isolate that stuff and break it down so that you can pinpoint one thing at a time. Because if you're dealing with like I don't know, a divorce or crap like that, that's a massive amount of stuff, and it
Right.
it, invol- it involves a lot. So you got to kind of choose and pick your points, one
Hmm.
day at a time, things of that nature. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, structure does a hell of a lot of things for a lot of people. If you can really
Hmm.
sit down and you know set yourself some goals, even as small as minute as they might be, set yourself attainable goals, and then recognize your own wins.
Oh,
And those
yeah.
those wins could be like amazingly minuscule, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I remember when I had a couple internships where I was working with kids in a foster home, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of them. So first of all, these kids had all of them had a mental health diagnosis of some kind, right?
Hmm.
All of them had a criminal record of some kind, and their parents had all lost their parental rights to these kids. And so these are the
Wow.
kids that were shuffling back and forth, getting them to school, getting them to doctor's appointments, therapy appointments, whatever they might need.
Hmm.
But a huge aspect of that was, I mean, they all had like a treatment plan that we would like set forth goals and things like that for them to
Hmm.
accomplish. But I mean, you have to recognize wins when they come, and wins could be
Absolutely.
even like, okay, you made it to class on time. That's a
Yeah.
win, brother.
Yeah.
Like, way to
Absolutely.
be. Like, you did it. You're here. You're participating.
Hmm.
Like that. Call that a win. And just recognizing that you overcame even the smallest obstacle. I mean, it could be as easy as making your bed in the morning. It could
Yeah.
be, getting yourself breakfast before you leave for the day,
Hmm.
making it to work on time or to school on time. Like, that's a win, dude. Like,
Absolutely.
especially people who might be in like the throes of really bad depression
Hmm.
or horrible anxiety. Like,
Hmm.
overcoming that, the tiniest obstacle can be a win, and make sure that you recognize that, because
Absolutely.
that's something. That's something.
And it's huge because especially because those little wins add up to big wins. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? In something like just saying, acknowledging somebody like, "Hi, how are you today?"
Hmm.
Something just as simple as that. They might think like, "Wow, they really care about how I feel." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So something just as simple as that can be very effective and also considered a win.
Right.
Like you said, man. So I like to say predict your future by creating it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so, what are your thoughts on that?
So, um, I've got some friends who, these days I think that they're they're kind of weird, to be honest. But you get like, they get into like the life coach game, or
Hmm.
they get into like the mindfulness game and things like
Hmm.
that, and you know, and doing whatever what they'll say is they'll like, hey, if you like, I manifested this and it happened for me.
Mhm.
But and sometimes I feel like that's a little bit hokey sometimes. Like I think that's kind of a goofy way to go about it. But I mean, but it is true, you set
Yeah.
yourself up for
Mhm.
success,
Absolutely.
and if you're gonna set forth a goal and then you're taking steps to reach that goal, like you did manifest this goal. You did manifest this accomplishment. And but I mean you can't just think something into existence. I mean, it's not really the way it works, but as long as you're working towards something, I mean, things will come.
Yeah,
Things will come, no matter how small
absolutely.
they might be.
Mhm. And then you also have to be willing to do the things that others don't do.
Right.
Um, because, you know, depending on what the situation is, if things have never worked out or there's always been an issue, then apparently, of course, doing the same thing to get a different result
Right.
is insane.
Right.
Um,
Definition.
right, right. So you have to find different ways or examine or explore different ways, uh, constructively, I guess, to try to get those results that you're looking for or find ways to break through whatever you're
Yeah.
dealing with.
Explore your
Uh,
resources.
absolutely,
I feel like people
absolutely.
really, 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 really don't understand the kind of resources in any situation that might be available to them.
Mhm,
People get like tunnel vision and they become so narrow minded that they're like, I have to do this. I have to do this. You're like,
mhm.
take a step back,
Yeah, yeah,
and look at what you have available to you. And it may not come in the form that you thought it was going to, you
exactly.
know?
That's a strong statement there, and a lot of times when we seek advice from other people, um, typically it may be they're trying to help, but in some cases they might give you advice that didn't even work for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, uh, so I just love it when people are honest and like, dude, I ain't got a clue.
Right.
But I can
Yeah.
help you solve this if you find something and need some help. I'm willing to work with you.
Yeah.
But as far as giving you some advice, I got nothing.
Yeah. I think it's so important when people come to you like that. When I mean, it's so easy to hit that BS button and just start spouting a bunch of crap, and you're
Yeah,
just talking
right,
out of
right,
your
right.
ass, and you don't really know
Mhm.
what you're talking about. But
Uh-huh.
like, it is. I think it is a massive strength when somebody close to you or somebody that you've confided in is absolutely transparent with what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing, and just honest with you about, hey, man, I've never done this before, and I don't know if it's going to work.
Right.
But I mean, if you're willing to try it, fuck it, we'll do this together. We'll do this
Yeah, man.
together. It's like,
And I think the world needs more of that. You know what I'm saying? All the BS, like you were saying, man, it's not helpful.
right.
It's just crap that you don't need, man.
Yeah.
We need more things like people being upfront and honest. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
It's
think
like,
transparency is like is it's a lost art. I feel and I mean that goes all kinds of ways, even at
Mhm.
work, like, higher ups in my job and whatever, like look, man, just be honest with me. Don't beat
Right,
around the bush. Don't
right.
don't try and give me the political answer, oh,
Mhm.
it's a transition period. Oh, well, we've
Yeah,
got some growing pains, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, dude, is this working or is it not working? Because
exactly.
like I'm struggling and I just need to know, like, is this gonna happen or not? Like, is this
Mhm.
is I just hate that, like, not knowing and just being left in the dark and getting the runaround from this, that, and whatever. It's like, man, I have so much respect for people who can just be just transparent upfront. Like, look, man, I don't know. Be like, oh,
Right.
thank God, because I don't know either.
Right. And honesty goes a long way. It just does. And like you said, people have more respect for you when you're upfront and just transparent like that. But even in some cases, like when our ideas fail and they don't go the way we want them to go, or just
Hmm.
maybe it's a total disaster. I don't know. But in those cases, we still got to adjust and keep going. You got to bend, but don't break. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You have to realize your errors, try to recoup as fast as you can,
yeah.
uh, and
But
get
just
back, get back.
knowing, yeah, sorry. Just having that awareness,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
awareness about yourself.
Mhm.
That's a wild concept for a lot of people. It's just being it's self-aware. I'm like, hey, I tried this and it didn't work, and that's okay
Right.
because I got another option, and I'm going to try that one, and that might not work either, but it might.
Right,
So
exactly.
I mean, and if you can't take the time to sit there and think about what you can and cannot do, what you do and what you have not done,
Mhm.
it's an amazing thing.
Absolutely.
But people will go into something blindly because it's like almost a sense of bravado, like
Wow.
and I, I I think it speaks volumes when somebody can step back and be like, hey, I tried this and it did not work, but you know what? I'm cooking up another plan.
Yeah, and you now know what doesn't work. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
actually is helpful, so
That's research, baby.
it's firsthand
Yeah.
research, and and it lets you know that you can basically turn your obstacles into assets.
Right.
When you do that, I think about Hiroshima in Japan. After the huge bombing, they
Hmm.
had to basically restructure everything and find a way
Right.
to come back from all that. Which after so long they did, and boy, did they come back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Well, I
go
think
ahead.
about like like Germany. So obviously Germany does not have a wonderful history, right?
Mhm, uh-huh.
But it is amazing to me, the way that they've kind of embraced their failure, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, and I mean, they talk about it in schools. Um, they have monuments and memorials and all these kinds of things. Like, look at our horrible history. Look at the horrible things we did to an entire population.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
let's teach our children, let's teach the population, let's make sure that we never make this mistake again. And so like I think that's a really honorable way to deal with an incredible failure as a society is
Absolutely.
you have to acknowledge your own failures and where you screwed
So
up.
yeah, so they embrace their failure.
Right.
So yeah, man, that's really a great way to look at things, and it helps you heal and kind of put the stuff behind you, so to speak, and grow from it and build and move forward,
Right.
and also lay the foundation so that you'll never do that again.
Right.
Um, so that's a great example, man. When I think about failure, I think about Thomas Edison. You know, boy, did he fail, but he got all the ways out of the way in order to be a creator for the life, right?
Because I found 100 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah, man. I mean, think about how many people would have just said, "You know what? I'm gonna try something else," or
Right.
just give up. But he was so focused and driven, like it was his, I guess, just meant for him to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uh, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I think like you try something over and over again and you fail over and over and over again, and or you're trying to accomplish a goal or whatever. And like I know me personally, like when I stepped down from like a management position,
Hmm.
I had to like start thinking about like because I felt like I was failing in some way, right? Am I failing
Okay.
myself? Am I failing other people? Am I failing my family? My
Hmm.
wife, whatever. Like,
Hmm.
but it's not about like it's not like why are you so concerned with what other people expect you to do?
Okay.
Because if other people are just expecting you to be somebody that you are not, then you're always going to be a failure, right?
Wow.
Um,
Well put.
so I mean, you just have to sit there and think about who am I failing, and I'm not failing anybody. I'm finding what I'm good at.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's an excellent way to put that, man. Finding what you're good at. And I think a lot of people miss that. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You have people out there who literally hate what they do.
right,
They hate their job. They hate, maybe even hate their life and how it is right now. Uh, they just literally are unhappy with what they're dealing with, uh, because they are allowing others to, I guess, dictate their future.
yeah.
Yeah,
They have
we
this
we
idea in their head that somebody else is expecting me to be this person,
mhm,
and okay, so you all right. So gifted kids growing up in school, right? They're in all these
Mhm.
accelerated classes. People are telling them all the time, "Oh, you're going to do great things." Like, they're expecting them to get all A's. They're expecting them to be on the National Honor Society. They're expecting them to be
Right.
on the honor roll.
Mhm.
There's such high expectations put on them, which I do think that a healthy level of standards of expectations is a good thing. I do.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but when you pound it into a kid that you are special, you are better, you are more than this, we expect more from you. um, I think that o- a lot of times that can backfire, and that
Yeah.
person develops a complex of some kind. I'm not saying this happens all the time. I mean, this, of course, this is kind of blanket statement here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
I
but
mean, it can.
develops this like weird sense of anxiety, this false expectation of who I'm supposed to be, and if you don't become that person, then are you ultimately a failure?
That's a
I
lot of
mean, are
pressure. That's
are
a lot of
you
pressure.
are you happy with what you're doing? Because isn't if you're happy doing what you do, I
Mhm.
find that to be successful. And it may not be somebody else's definition of what you were supposed to be successful at, but
Mhm.
it's what worked for me, right?
Absolutely. And I got an idea as you were talking. I started thinking about how parents or fathers or they have a successful business or whatever,
Hmm.
or something that they have an idea of what they want their children to do. I want you to go to doctor school, go to school to be a doctor, or you
Right,
know, and that's their idea. You know what I mean? It's a great
right,
idea. Yeah, you're looking out for your kid and maybe want them to be successful, but your child is like, I want to do this. I
right.
like to draw. I like to
Yeah.
draw cars or design cars or whatever.
I feel like you
And
find that a lot in, especially with like first or second generation immigrants to the United States.
uh-huh.
You find that a lot, and it's always an
Hmm.
expectation like, hey, look at what I sacrificed to get you here.
Hmm.
Like, you're going to be successful. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be, top of your field. You're going to be whatever. And there's this massive expectation, almost a cultural expectation. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
you've got the weight of of your home country on your back to be
Man.
successful in this new country, right?
Right? Yeah.
But maybe that, and I feel like more often than not, that is not what that kid wants to do.
Exactly.
And if they grow up, yeah,
Especially when you come to a new country and see all the opportunity. You
right,
know what I mean? From some countries, they only view certain professions as successful.
right.
You know what I mean? And then you
Honorable professions, right?
right, right,
Like,
right. And then I'm going off the example that I was using. I like to draw. I like to draw cars. I love cars. I have a fascination with cars.
right on.
Uh, that person can end up designing for a company by like Lamborghini. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Uh, and blow everybody away as far as what they're making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So opportunity or success can be found just about anywhere.
Mhm.
If you let your creativity and your gift and your abilities and your focus and your passion lead you.
Right.
But if you have people that are forcing you to go in a direction that you're really not feeling, yeah, that can really be an issue to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why this next one says say no and make tough calls. So is it difficult for a child to stand up to their parents and say, hey, let's talk?
Right.
You hear me out. Let me get this off my chest, and then you can say whatever, but just let me say this. I want you to understand that being a doctor is you.
Right.
That's your thing. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but cars, I love to
Right.
draw. I'm gonna be doing this forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so let me try to find myself.
Yeah.
Like you found yourself. Is there harm in that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But I also think that, if somebody's becoming a parent for the first time, or they're raising kids, I think that it's really important to be aware of that, and develop an atmosphere where your kids do feel comfortable coming to you and telling you, hey,
Mhm.
I don't know if this is what I want anymore. Because I feel like there is so much fear generated by the expectations of someone's parents to be successful,
Hmm.
in a certain field or whatever, that
Right.
it is incredibly isolating for a kid when they don't feel like they can be open and honest with their parent or their guardian or whoever,
Right.
um, for fear that they're going to be, I don't know, cut off financially or not have a place to live or not
Yeah.
have somewhere to go for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever,
Boy.
that they're banished or whatever. But I think it's really important that and I'm not a I'm not a parent. So
Hmm.
like I'm right now I'm kind of talking out of my ass, but I just feel this way, that it's incredibly important for you to be able to foster an environment where your child feels secure in talking to you in that manner, I guess.
Absolutely, man. And I am a parent, and really, what you're saying is really spot on. So when you do become a parent, you're gonna be a good parent. Uh, so yeah, you're in the right place, man.
Good deal.
So I can use an example of mine. My son, I brought him up playing soccer and basketball. He was good in both, but he was amazing in soccer. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I got to witness this, and I was like blown away every time I seen him play. I'm like, dude, you're really good, and it wasn't just me, it was other parents coming to me, your son is really good.
Sure, yeah.
He, he was blowing through everybody, and just a natural talent for soccer. And he would score like 8 or more goals per game. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, and they had to
Crush.
double,
Yeah.
yeah, they had to double and triple team him. And I'm thinking, dude, you know how parents do.
Hmm.
Man, those soccer contracts get pretty big.
I know. Yeah.
This could go somewhere. And then, but his passion for soccer wasn't as huge as it was for basketball.
Right.
So he decided one year that he wanted to just do basketball and not both. And I was very disappointed. I was like, you gotta you gotta see what I'm seeing. And
Right.
and that was kind of the wrong way to look at it. I needed to see things where he was seeing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he went in basketball. He developed in basketball, got better, and then he kind of just grew out of that too. So
Sure.
maybe it was just a kid thing, or a thing he was doing at the time that he loved at the time, and just kind of
Hmm.
grew out of it. Now he's on a path to do something else. But as his parent, I had to be smart enough and wise enough not to come down on him or
Right.
criticize him, uh, or
Right,
look
so
at things.
I'm sure it's so tough to do too, and you see like
Oh,
just potential just oozing out of
yeah.
somebody, and they just don't want to do anything about it. You're like, oh my god. I mean, I remember. So I was very, very fortunate growing up. That um, my parents allowed me to try pretty much whatever I wanted to try, whether it was a
Mhm,
sport, play an instrument, whatever. And I tried lots of things,
mhm, mhm.
and there's lots of things that I had a lot of fun doing. Um, and one of them was like diving, right? So I was on the diving team for our city growing up.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and really it just grew out of me playing chicken with my friends at the pool, like, you know, and I was the kid who was a pool rat. I spent from open to close at the pool all day, every day during the summer. My mom would let me ride my bike up to the pool, and she'd give me like $4 for the whole day for like,
Uh,
a cookie and a Coke, and then don't get abducted, right? But I would sit
right.
there, I would, I would, it got to the point where like the lifeguards were like letting me go off the diving boards during adult swim, as long as I
Mhm.
would at least try whatever dive that they called out, right? And I
Oh,
would do it,
nice.
and I would do it, right? So my
Uh-huh.
mom caught on to this, and she was like, "Well, let's get you private lessons. Let's see if this becomes something." And then so
Mhm.
there I was, like twice a week, going to a private lessons with some lady who wanted me to try this certain dive over and over again. And it's all about form, it's all about this, that, whatever. And like,
Mhm.
it wasn't fun anymore. It was a
Right.
job now. It
Yeah.
was a job now. There's too much structure.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't like this. Like, this is not. She's like, yeah, but you're so good at it. You're so good at it. I'm like, I don't care. This
Right.
sucks.
Yeah.
Like, like I don't know. But it just drove her mad because
She saw your potential.
I was succeeding in this,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, I suppose that's part of growing as a parent as well, like
Mhm.
it's tough to take a step back when your kid doesn't want to do something, and you try and try. I mean, that's part of being a good parent too is to
Right.
try and support your kid in any way possible. And if they want to pursue something, let them pursue it.
Hmm.
But if they don't like it anymore, you got to learn to take your foot off the gas too. So
Yeah, man, and that's very hard to do. But you made a strong point from a kid's perspective when you were going through that. Everybody else is not seeing your perspective; they're seeing theirs. You're like, wow, you could
right,
really do. You could take this way, and you're
right,
like, I'm not having fun anymore. This sucks.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so they basically took the fun out of it. This is
yeah,
something you like to do all the time, just for kicks.
right,
And then when they started adding all that structure and don't do this and you got to do that, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do something else.
yeah, yeah. I'm over it. I'm over it. This
Yeah.
isn't cool anymore.
So
Yeah.
my next thing I have here is it says go from vision to victory. And all that what does that mean to you?
So this kind of goes back to I was saying how I have some friends who are like the life coach sort of route,
Hmm.
and they're manifesting their own future. They're manifesting their own goals, their own accomplishments. Like I said, like yeah, I think it's kind of hokey the way you word it, saying like, "Well,
Hmm.
we manifest this, it'll happen." But I mean, it's true. It's true. I mean, if you don't have a vision for what you want, then how are you how do you expect to set your goals? How do you expect to create a little plan for yourself? How do you
Right.
so I mean and that plan is probably going to take some wild twists and turns along the way, and you're going to find inspiration from places you never thought you would,
Right. Right.
and it might be some warped, twisted, uh, like outcome, not exactly what you envisioned at the beginning.
Hmm.
But I do think that if you set your mind to something and you can kind of storybook like storyline of
Hmm.
what you want out of it, then you'll figure it out along the way.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And you also have to believe in yourself because usually no one else will,
Yeah.
and especially in negative environments. And believe me, they are out there. Uh, and you can even have an idea, and you do something like share it with the people that mean a lot to you,
Hmm.
and boy, they shoot stuff down.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
how many times have you thought you were onto something good and everybody's like, "Oh, that's nice." Oh. You're
Oh
like,
man, oh, man.
like, where was my? Oh my gosh, what a great idea, Thomas! I can't believe you're going to try this. This is amazing. Like,
yeah,
no.
I mean, yeah, some people are just awful
Well,
when
there's
it comes to.
always there's always people who will try and pick apart your happiness. People who will try
Mm,
and pick apart your goal,
mm,
tell you all the reasons why it's not going to work. You know what I mean? I one of my older brother lives in Chicago now, right?
mhm,
And he was a stand-up comic here in Kansas City,
mhm,
and he was getting better and better, and he was going to different contests, and he was getting recognition, and he was getting stage time all the time. And he
wow.
said, he's like, I'm going to go to Chicago. The scene is better there. Blah blah blah. Well, I have this uncle who just tore him apart. He's like, yeah, you'll never make it up there. Nobody's gonna want to see you. Like, I mean, what are you even trying to do? You belong here. You'll be back in 5 years. Blah blah blah.
Wow.
Right? And just terrible. And
Mhm,
I mean, but he went and did it. And granted, he'd made some sobering realizations along the way of
mhm,
what's attainable and what's not.
mhm,
But I mean, he still enjoys doing it when he can get up. He's got a full time job and wife and all that kind of stuff now. But
mhm.
whenever he gets a chance, you know, try and throw a set together. Yeah, I got a minute. I
Yeah,
got 2 minutes I can put together.
yeah,
But he's
man.
still there, man, and he's got a life now. I mean, I
Good.
mean, he's married. They got a place to live. They're happy. They got jobs. They're doing their thing. So screw you, Uncle Ned.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So he got a win. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
gotta
And
win.
a win doesn't mean you got to blow up being super mega star like a Kevin Hart or anything like that.
Right,
Uh,
right. You
but
don't have to
long as
be
you
on Saturday Night Live. You don't have to be on,
right,
whatever. Like,
hmm
you enjoy
yeah,
doing it, and he does, and he's yeah. That's all
Yeah, I
that
mean,
matters.
that's great, man. I'm glad he made that work out, and looks like he found a family up there and everything. Is he still
Yeah.
in Chicago?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I mean though. Like it might not be the vision that you started out with, but and
Uh-huh.
it's got twists and turns along the way. But in some form or another, like you find happiness in what you love doing, and something will work out. Something will work out. And if you're still doing the things you like, but your life took, oh, it's a like I said, it's a warped like portion of what you envision going starting out, but you're there and you're still doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you basically take one step at a time. Don't bite off more than what you can chew,
Yeah.
and and things usually, even though they don't turn out exactly like you think,
Hmm.
they turn out.
Yeah, and a win's a
So
win. I
yeah.
mean, like that's amazing. Like I've never made a huge move like that to where I was completely cut off from everything I knew.
Hmm.
Like that's incredible. Like you by yourself uprooted yourself and moved to a
Hmm.
city where zero people,
Right, and you
and
found a way to make it.
dove right in, dove right
Yeah.
in, and that's a win. Call it a
That
win.
that's a huge win, actually, you know, and he made it work. So congratulations to him.
And he met
Uh,
his wife because she was also a comedian. So I mean,
there you
that's
go.
how his life developed.
Yeah,
He
that's
he
destiny, right?
he started out with his goal of wanting to do comedy in a different city and diving in, and sure as shit he met his wife who had a similar goal, and now he's happy
Hey,
with
there you
her,
go.
right? So I mean, it
Happiness is everything.
it led him to possibly a different goal, but it's a goal that he is absolutely happy with. So
Hey, that's great, man. That's a great win right there. Um, and sometimes we just need to seek support from others. I know we mentioned that before, but they were kind of like the wrong ones.
mhm,
This is kind of focusing on the right one. So I kind of mentioned Thomas Edison before, and he usually gets the credit for the light bulb. But the
mhm,
truth of the matter is, there were certain people like Joseph Swan, Alessandro, and Davy, who were key and instrumental in working with him and making sure those things happen.
mhm.
Um, so a support team or support from others is huge. If you can have that and find that, that's great, man. What are your thoughts?
I think also like a healthy competition, right? So I think
Mhm.
we talk about Thomas Edison. I think Nikola Tesla was also in there because he was doing his
Yes.
thing too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, and I think that healthy like competition, that like what's he onto? I'm gonna
Mhm.
top him. I'm gonna figure this out first. Like there's
Uh-huh.
a driving factor there that will
Absolutely.
drive you if you find a healthy opponent to butt heads with, and at
Mhm.
times maybe collaborate with, and maybe steal ideas from or share ideas or whatever. But I mean that's that just drives people to be better, to like to beat out that next person, to whatever. And I mean, I feel like there's, whether you're professional athletes, whether you're concert pianist, whether you're whatever, like everybody is gunning for a spot, to the next level. And
Absolutely.
you're not going to get there unless you have somebody who's challenging you. Maybe not your personal support, maybe not like your like, you got this, you're going to win it, but
Uh-huh.
somebody who's like, no, I'm going to beat you at this.
Oh
You're like,
man.
no, you
That
are not.
that's like the best positive motivation in the world.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, I was thinking about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs when they was on the run to develop, the computer.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that's where my thought process took me when you were talking about that.
I was thinking
Uh,
Tony Hawk with the 900. It's like everybody sees Tony Hawk hit this 900, and they're like, "Shit! Now we all got to learn how to do this." This is where
right?
the next level is. This is where the next
Yeah.
level is. We know it's
Mhm.
possible now. Now I'm gonna beat it.
There it is, and that's beautiful, man. And that's really what makes life worth living, man. When people hit that mark that's never been hit before,
Hmm.
because they did something different, or
Right.
they did what was up here and in here, not what
Hmm.
somebody was saying to them. Um, that's how life develops.
I think it's
You know what I'm saying?
if you can witness the impossible, you know that is possible.
Heck yeah,
You
everything is
know,
possible,
you never something you never thought was ever going to happen, and there it
man.
happens right in front of your face, and you're like, man, I'll tell you what, let's see what else can happen.
No kidding, man, and that's life, man. That's how things work.
Yeah,
When especially when you stay motivated and stay positive and realize that anything is possible.
yeah,
And it's not to think like anything's possible for somebody else, or anything's possible for the people who've done some impossible things in the past.
right,
But you have to realize and understand that anything is also possible with you.
yeah,
You know, and once we get past those impossible odds, maybe those impossible odds are what we need to go through in order to get to that. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? So you just can't never quit. You got to keep it going. Uh, and also you have to realize if something's not broke, or I guess if something is broken, it can always be fixed.
yeah.
Um,
Do something about it.
oh, absolutely, man. Every problem has a solution,
Yeah,
and
you could sit on a problem all day long, but if you're not going to get yourself moving, it's never going to get resolved.
no, no.
Hmm.
And I like the saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah,
Uh,
classic, classic.
yeah, and I love that because when you think about a race, everybody starts off at the same time, and we know where the race ends.
Hmm.
But what happens in between is what blows everybody away because you got the person that's expected to win,
Hmm.
and then you got the person that is expected to be a challenge for that person. But then you usually have somebody that comes out of nowhere
Yeah,
and just blast past everybody.
the old
And
dark horse. Yeah,
yeah, right. And I love that, man, because you can plan for something, you can train for something, you can practice for something, and you can even think that you're the best, but you don't know what that other person's doing and how they're preparing because yeah, you're expected to win and you're favored to win, but they're like,
hmm,
not today.
yeah.
Not
Well,
today.
and
Maybe
it's always the one that has nothing to lose,
right, right, right. Mhm.
and because the person who's always winning, the person who's always getting it, is they got that expectation because they have the support behind them usually, and they have
Mhm.
the resources to do so. And when you've expended all of everything that you've got to get to this moment, shit, man,
Mhm.
you got nothing to lose.
Right,
You got
right.
nothing to lose,
It's
and
all or nothing. Yeah.
it's almost like the pressure's off, and you
Yeah.
can,
And
yeah,
then when you do reach that monumental goal or make that impossible thing happen, you feel like you can take on the world. It's like the greatest moment ever,
yeah,
and I appreciate when people win like that over the expected person to win
hmm,
because it puts them back in focus mode because they're
right,
like, now I'm not
right,
the
yeah.
best. I need
And
to
I
keep
and
working.
I am not going to let this person beat me again. This is
Yeah, yeah. That's that competition you were talking about.
yeah,
So yeah, man. Sometimes we need to have a little drawback or misfortune or sometimes have a loss in
yeah,
order to appreciate where we are, where we were,
yeah,
so that we don't get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? We gotta,
yeah,
you don't know who's coming up next. It's always somebody who's gonna break your record.
right,
If it's later today, tomorrow, next year, or 10 years from now, somebody's gonna come along and break that record that was already broken once or twice or five times, or even just, nobody broke it at all.
yeah.
Uh, so
I
yeah,
think
man, that's
it's so important to stay humble too. I
absolutely,
like
absolutely.
there's nothing I hate worse in the world than somebody who's just the blabbermouth, the out loud, they're billboarding their talents all over the. I mean, some people say like, well, hey man, that's confidence. That's confidence. Like you gotta know you're the best to be the best. Whatever,
Mhm.
whatever. But I hate that idea, and it always just drives me nuts when I see like that like alpha personality is like always just always on, and you're like, oh my god, this guy, I'm over it, right? But I think it's important that you stay humble in
Mhm,
what you do, and
mhm.
that somebody's coming after you, and that your own abilities, what you're good at, and what your goal is, um, and you may have the idea that nobody's going to take it from you, but you have to know that somebody's always right behind you.
Absolutely, and somebody's always coming for you.
Hmm.
You got to keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah,
because as soon as you blink or look
Yeah.
too far to the left, guess
Yeah.
what? You got replaced.
Right. Right. And if you're out here too busy showboating and somebody comes and steals it from you, well, it's your own damn fault, man, because somebody stayed focused.
Yeah,
Somebody knew where they came from.
absolutely, and didn't forget, and
Yeah.
didn't forget. Um, so the last one I have for today, and I think this is huge, and this is why I left it for last. Um, in overcoming impossible odds, I think the biggest factor is taking care of yourself. Because a lot of people, when they get in situations, the first thing they want to do is not eat right. You know,
Mhm.
they feel like crap, so they start eating crap,
Mhm.
or they don't want to do nothing. They don't want to exercise. They don't want to. Heck, I mean, in some cases, they just don't want to shave or get a haircut, or
Right.
um, they make the situation, it's bad already, but because they stop taking care of themselves, it makes it a lot worse.
Yeah.
And it impacts them a lot more than it really should. Uh, what are your thoughts?
I think it's incredibly easy to succumb what the easiest path is.
Hmm.
It's incredibly easy to succumb to that path, and I mean, I've been there before.
Hmm.
You know, I don't want to cook dinner tonight, so I'm going to order something out.
Hmm.
I really don't want to get up and work out. I really don't want to go for that run. I really don't want to go to practice today.
Hmm.
I don't feel like putting out that kind of effort. Um, but you know that every damn time that you do, you feel good about yourself. like,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's so easy to succumb to that easy path.
Hmm.
Um, that you got to be, you got to have strong mindset, and never lose sight of that goal. Um, and I think it's so important just to kick yourself in the ass sometimes and just make sure that you get up and do it.
And really, that's hard to do. It's easier said than done. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can just be so exhausted, not only physically but mentally, and then you have something hit you that it's the worst time to ever deal with anything because you're not your normal self,
Right.
uh, and and then something else get added to the mix, and then next thing you know you're dealing with five different things, and you get phone calls, and it's nothing but bad news.
Right.
Um, it's just getting laid on thick. But even in those times, man, we got to find a way to push through it.
Mm.
Shoot, I take a nap. I
Yeah.
was like, this is too much. I'm gonna go take a nap, and then I'll get some rest, and then I'll wake up and try to sort it out with a fresh mind.
Yeah. Figure out your coping mechanism, but make sure it's a healthy one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, and like, well, shoot, man, like I said earlier, set those small goals. Set those
Hmm.
goals. Like, I'm gonna make my bed this morning when I wake up. I'm gonna make sure I get something to eat before I go to work. I'm gonna take a walk around the block and stretch my
Hmm.
legs a little bit. I'm gonna make sure that I'm setting myself up for success. You know, and it takes effort. It takes effort, and that's the hardest part of it all, is that it takes effort.
Hmm.
But set those small goals, and every time you accomplish one of those small goals, it's something else you can check off your list.
Yeah, or stack up. You
Hmm.
know, that
Yeah,
it'll
man, those are
start.
building blocks. Those are building
Yeah,
blocks.
there you go, man. Uh, yeah, man, that's a great episode today. Do you have any final remarks?
I mean, this was fun, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I yeah, I mean, I've there's from the social work background, I've probably forgotten a lot of it, but I mean, shoot, there's so many techniques, so many coping mechanisms, so many like behavior activities,
Hmm.
little little things that you can do to, like, meditation or anything, just
Yeah.
like reset yourself, refocus your
Hmm.
mind, being aware of what your reactions are to a certain stimulus.
Hmm.
How do you know what is your knee-jerk reaction to any given thing, right?
Right,
I think
right.
learning those kind of things about you, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of self-reflection,
Mhm.
But I think if you start learning those things about yourself, getting to know yourself a little bit, um, and how you react to things, it's only going to strengthen your ability to move forward with how you're going to go about accomplishing your goals, what path you want to take towards it, and maybe those goals are going to shift a little bit, and maybe the outcome won't look exactly like it did when it started,
Mhm.
but you tend to find your way if you put in the effort. If you put in the effort,
Absolutely. And if you never try, you'll never know.
if you
Right?
never try, you'll never know. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. So right now I'm gonna highlight the sponsors: JG's Lounge, TGBTG, Golden Diamond Productions, Leia's Question for getting us going in the right direction for the conversation.
That's right.
Vive, VYV comes in a little vial. You shake it, sniff it, and it gets your thought process activated so you can be focused. If you want to support that and support the show, go to the website, and the code is Lution15, Lution15. Get a little discount and help support the show. Speaking of which, the people that are tuning in now, we really appreciate you for looking at us and watching us live or later when it goes on. Uh, Once again, thanks for Thomas Grafton for uh, being a part of the show today. Please come back and do it again sometime later. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, man. And I am Evolution, your host. And for now, that's life. Uh, Take care, and we'll see you later.
See you guys.
All right.